Hi all. These are generally conversations between adults after the children have left the table. The language can be spicy and the subjects can get saucy. So if you're ready, this is the Southern Fork. Unscripted kitchen chats and also studio chats with some of the most interesting voices in the culinary South. I'm Stephanie Burt, a food and beverage writer based in Charleston, South Carolina, who travels with her fork to write for a variety of publications, from magazines you might have on your coffee table to the website you love to visit for your favorite recipes. And I'm inviting you to come behind the scenes with me to get to know the people who make this Southern culinary landscape so special. I'm always hungry for the next bite, thirsty for that next sip, and ready for the next conversation. Let's dig in. The Southern Fork is sponsored by Smithy Ironware. As the temps drop and hanging out by the campfire or the fire pit or the tailgate sounds like just the thing, don't forget how versatile this cast iron is for outside cooking. From cornbread in the oven to steaks on the grill to your favorite tailgate wings, Smithy skillets are designed to perform wherever the location or whatever the cooking occasion. Over the years, I've worked with Smithy to collect recipes from some of the best chefs in the biz, many of whom have taught me that cooking with Smithy on a grill or over a fire is one of the best ways to use it well, as their tagline goes. So it's the perfect time of year to invest in a Smithy. You can find all Smithy sizes, and there's recipes too, at smithy.com. That's SMITHEY.com. I use my Smithy well all the time, and I can't imagine my kitchen or my grill without it. Now, I rode the barbecue train a little further north than usual, but there were ribs, so sorry not sorry. Many restaurants in America are a family business. But how do you be you in a business that you didn't build? For that discussion, we keep the barbecue train going again this week with Amy Mills of 17th Street Barbecue in Murphysboro, Illinois. We met up at the recent Firebox BBQ event on St. Simons Island, Georgia. And although it's often that we see each other on the road, she doesn't stop much these days. Between appearances on the Food Network's Barbecue Brawl, to book publicity for Praise the Lard, to getting a barbecue sauce factory up and running. Beyond the Bon Appetit's best ribs in America, I think she makes the best baked beans I've ever had, and she's highly aware of the weight of a legacy, yet also feels the creative urging of a natural communicator. In short, we always enjoy talking. Welcome to the Southern Fork, Amy.
Welcome to you. Thank you for having me. I'm so delighted.
Well, thank you for having me in your wonderful beachfront suite, mini villa.
I know, isn't this nice?
It's so nice. We're at the Seagate Inn in St. Simons Island, so there are some high ceilings here, so you might notice the size of the room, but we're chilling on the couch, looking at the ocean and the palm trees, waving in the breeze. And Amy's already been down to the Firebox site and put some ribs on and got some food happening, and then is popped away to have a chat with me, and then is going to go back to cook some stuff tonight for our big shindig. So how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I love being on St. Simons Island. This is, I think, the fifth one of these events that we've done. The first two were with the Food and Wine Festival. Then it's broken off and become its own charity. And I adore the Southern Soul guys and will do anything, be anywhere they ask me to be. So it's just really a privilege and an honor to be here, cooking with all my friends and raising money for such a worthwhile cause.
Yes. And you are based in?
I am based in Southern Illinois, and you have to say Southern because it's a good 7 hours from Chicago, 2 hours south of St. Louis, 3 hours north of either Memphis or Nashville, really tucked in the tip of Southern Illinois. We're at the beginning of the alluvial delta. It's a really special place.
So it's a place that my listeners are immediately going to say, what's up with that, Steph? Why are you interviewing somebody from Illinois? So first, let me tell you that I have met Amy many, many times over what I would call the Southern food circuit over the years. And we've talked as you've written cookbooks, and I've eaten your delicious food, and you've come to Charleston for the Charleston Brownwater Society thing. But I said, this is going to be cool because you're an honorary Southerner. And you went, I want to talk about that on air. So here's your moment. Go for it.
Okay. Well, we definitely say Southern Illinois because it's very different from other parts of Illinois. And if you look at the map, we are actually farther south than Louisville, Kentucky, or Richmond, Virginia. It's a very unusual place. And I like to say we're Midwestern with a Southern accent.
Love it.
Our area,
she's always good at the top.
Our area definitely flip-flopped several times during the Civil War. Mm-hmm. And one of the most famous Civil War generals, General John A. Logan, is actually from Southern Illinois. And he is the reason we have Memorial Day.
Oh.
Or he's from Murphysboro, not even just Southern Illinois, but from our town. So, we can sort of swing both ways here. And obviously we are barbecue people, and there's not much more Southern than that. So.
That's true. So you come from a barbecue legacy family. Your dad is Mike Mills, a master of the pit, and you are now a master in your own right. So how long have you been in what you term the family business?
I have been in the family business for really since 2000, so 19 years. Mm-hmm. And I, prior to that, had gone away to journalism school at the University of Missouri. I lived very briefly in Dallas and then in Boston. And I always had advertising, marketing, PR jobs. But I got kind of sucked back into the family business, doing an ad here or there, or, writing a press release. Be like,
oh, well, you should do this. I know how to do this marketing. I can do it for my family.
Exactly. But I was very uninterested in barbecue and in the family business. I really ran far and fast from that. But it's funny how things pull you back home. And I got divorced. I had my own consulting business at that time. And I was really yearning for home. And I just started doing more and more and more, and sort of part-time and then full-time, but really able to maintain my residence in Boston, raise my children there. Mm-hmm. But I traveled back and forth or to events and met up with our crew all the time. Mm-hmm. And then as my children grew older and went away to school, I really had much more time to spend at home and doing all of those things. So
what do you like about being with the crew for the events? Being in the kind of the trenches of the cooking, because I think a lot of people that listen to the show or go to a food festival, they just see the end. They see that they have to stand in line for a little bite of something, and they don't see that people have been working behind the scenes for hours. And when it comes to barbecue, sometimes all the way through the night before, because you're pulling up your rig. So what is it that keeps you coming back besides just the family thing?
Well, the family thing, but also the community aspect of it. So anytime we're at an event, we're with this group of people who have become like family to us. So, the hashtag BBQ family. Mm-hmm. And it's just really a special group of people. So, this weekend, it's like a family reunion. We're here with, 10 or so great friends, and it's a time to catch up and hang out. Today, after we put our ribs on, I was sitting and talking to Jonathan Fox and catching up with him. Last night, I had a big, long talk with Shane McBride of Pig Beach. Mm-hmm. I haven't really sat and talked to him. Haven't seen him since Memphis, but haven't probably really sat and had a good, long conversation in a while. So it's just really an opportunity to slow down. And that's really what barbecue is all about. It's slow food. Nothing is fast. Mm-hmm. There's lots of downtime around it. There's sort of a flurry to get here, and all of the...
But you have to stay with it and tend
Exactly.
it. You cannot leave the fire.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. I love that idea. I like that idea of sitting out there. And I definitely have joined in. I pop in and stuff. I'm very bad when I'm sleep deprived. So I cannot hang out at 3 a.m. because the next day I can't do a podcast. I'm very bad like that. But I love to spend time with the community. And I think it is like a family reunion. You took that journalism degree, and then you've had some very popular books. And
Thank you.
And I've been very fortunate to be a little bit of a texting cheerleader sometimes for you.
And I appreciate that more than you know.
We definitely all know that the fun part is getting the contract and deciding to do it. The worst part is that last third when you think, what have I been doing with my life? I can't finish this thing. And that was really you and your own voice. How did you begin to build your own barbecue voice?
That is such an interesting question. And I'm glad you asked, I think, because it will force me to articulate, things that I don't talk about too often. But in a legacy business, obviously our business has been forever about Mike Mills, but I've had to come into my own too, as I'm the third generation and coming on and taking things over. And so I absolutely will always pay homage to my dad and everything that he's built, but then I have to go along the continuum. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I did actually when I came back into the business was write Peace, Love, and Barbecue. And when I came back and I really started listening to these stories I've heard forever and reacquainting myself with people I've known forever, all of a sudden they all became much more interesting to me. I was not very, very interested early on, but
right.
I really thought, wow, this is so interesting. This is this very unique subculture of Americana. Right. And these stories need to be written down. They'll be interesting to somebody. I don't know who, but somebody will be interested in this, if nothing else, just for our own historical sake. And that whole process became Peace, Love, and Barbecue. And that was just, such an interesting project to take on. I would travel and, go hang out with these people, turn on my little tiny cassette recorder. There were no iPhones. This was
and you have to make sure that
2004.
You hit both of the buttons at the same time. You have to press them down. That's right.
Exactly.
I remember those.
And then I got myself one of those foot pedal, like dictaphone machines to
horrible.
Listen. And then I would type. So I would come back and transcribe everything and then just craft these vignettes. And I'll never forget coming back from Texas and listening to one of my tapes with Vince Maras from Taylor Cafe. And the whole thing was a train whistle. Oh, because it was right by a train, like a train whistle the entire time. So luckily I have a really good memory and I could remember all those things that were said. But my whole tape was nothing.
I know about what you speak.
I bet you do.
I attract leaf blowers like nobody's business.
Yeah.
So that book helped shape that. That's the first thing you did. But once that came out, you're getting in there and you're cooking. It's not just you marketing the business. You're there sweating, cooking over the fire, tending that. What else did you start to see develop? Because that's something that you look back and go, oh, I'm doing this differently than my dad does.
Right. Well, cooking, I don't. I very much follow what he taught me how to do because consistency is so important in barbecue and people they don't want to taste your experiments or they want to taste what they came there to taste. So I don't really do anything different. But in our book, I was able to write some different things and share also some family recipes in our second book, not the first book, but share some family recipes. And I've definitely been able to leave a little bit of a stamp on some of our catering things that we do. So, but barbecue wise, we stay very true to our very traditional barbecue.
So it's not the place for the chef that wants to experiment every night on the tasting menu.
No,
it's not.
No. And I'm always so envious of people. I love looking at Southern Soul and Home Team and Fox Brothers, and I see their daily specials and all the things that they are doing that are different. People,
like the 21 ingredient taco.
Exactly. People who come to 17th Street are coming there for some very specific things.
Right.
We live in a tiny town. We don't have people who want to come and taste our experiments. They want the ribs. They want the pork steak, the wings. We have a pretty strong menu, pretty extensive menu, but everything, like, it's always going to taste that way. Now, we might change a method if we see something somebody's doing that makes the food taste better, but it's the flavor profile is really not going to change.
It's funny because it's like you always, if you have straight hair, you always want curly, and if you have curly, you always want straight. Because those people that are creating this new generation of barbecue are looking at the legacy people going, man, wouldn't it be great to have a legacy like that? And they're trying to begin.
Exactly.
They're trying to build that. So it's funny how you both are looking back at each other and seeing
Well, what I
difference.
am doing that is going to be fun is that we're building a barbecue sauce factory. And it's in an old car dealership. So the front of the building that would have been the car showroom is going to be a breakfast, lunch, coffee all day restaurant. So that is where I'm going to get to do a little bit of experimenting.
Yeah.
So it's going to be biscuit sandwich based, very simple, fast casual, a drive-through for the coffee. There's going to be a retail component with some of our packaged foods and some salads and sandwiches and pimento cheese and our chickens off the pit, things like that you could take home. And that will be a little bit of an incubator because I don't know how many people want to take those things home.
Right.
Or maybe that won't work, but something else will work. I'm just not quite sure.
And the barbecue factory in the back.
Exactly. So we'll be doing our own barbecue sauce and then co-packing for other people.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
That is really excellent. Well, you're applying that marketing mind quite well there, Ms. Mills. So.
I know.
Okay, so first, before we even get to the TV thing, because the TV thing is the thing, and we need to talk about that, let's talk about the sign.
Oh, the Sunday sermons?
The Sunday sermons. Okay, so I'm definitely a Sunday sermon fan.
Thank you.
And, you see my little Southern Fork likes on there a lot. But you have thousands of people that follow this. Follow 17th Street Barbecue on Instagram, and they always put a picture of their Sunday sermon. And it's this little quote on the sign. Who does that?
So every month, I collect quotes everywhere. Sometimes, I'll look up quotes. I'll be like 4th of July quotes or patriotic quotes or love quotes or whatever. But I just find little bits of wisdom everywhere on the internet or in my own head or when I'm reading. It could be anything. And I write them down. I type them up. I send them to the restaurant. I'll send hundreds of them. And they get to choose. Unless it's a holiday, they can choose from my list. But we have 4 surfaces. So every week, 4 different ones go up. But I'm only showing you one of those 4.
Oh, okay.
But what's interesting is whenever they go up, I'm like, oh my gosh, how did they know? One of them or 2 of them always speaks to me. And I find that people write to me lots of DMs about the Sunday sermons and like, oh my gosh, this one really resonated with me. And it's just become a thing. When we first started doing them and I wanted them changed each week, our staff grumbled a little bit because it's not like an electronic billboard. They're the plastic letters. You got to find all your letters and get out there and put them up and get up on the ladder, and it might be really cold.
4 surfaces.
Exactly. But even they now get a kick out of seeing people stop in the middle of the street to take a picture or just see the way that they're shared everywhere. And it's not just what I'm sharing that's reposted. It's people coming and, taking a picture or somebody who's traveled and they take a picture and they're like, I finally see the Sunday sermon in the flesh. So it really has become a thing.
Interesting because those old-fashioned signs are really very much connected to that barbecue or this family restaurant culture more overall. And it's interesting to see it translate into the 21st century and the billboard being really Instagram now.
Yes.
And so, it's another way to do that, but it still has that traditional...
That feel.
Yes. It's kind of cool. I really, really love the Sunday
Thank you.
sermons. So,
well, somebody has hit my sign on the ground. If you look carefully at the pictures now, you'll see a dent in the sign.
No.
And I really do need to go buy a few more packs of letters and I need more vowels. But the plastic gets brown and I mean, they are well loved and used and you
brittle.
can see them exactly.
Yeah,
and it's time for me to maybe upgrade my letters a little bit. But
yeah, so that's really something that you're doing this kind of reach, that you're a personality, but also you're not in a big town. You're not in a big city. So coming and like, or doing a barbecue circuit or doing television, and writing the book, that's providing a bigger reach. Are you a destination for the town? Do people drive?
We are a destination. We've been a destination for a long time, and I have to really credit my dad for what he built before I even got involved. But people come every day from all over the world to 17th Street. They've read about us. They've read the book. They've seen us on TV. It could be any number of things that bring them there. But we have a chalkboard, and we write down where people are from, and every single day it will be
cool.
At least 4 states and or countries, which is really cool.
Yeah. I love that. So how did TV happen? I mean, besides, you have the most beautiful green eyes. I'm sitting here across from you right now, and I'm just like, I'm trying to concentrate, but I've never even quite seen that color of green. They're so beautiful. So, of course, you have a bright, bubbly personality, beautiful eyes. I mean, great cowboy boot collection. So all of that stuff translates well to television. But beyond that, I mean, you're judging, right?
Right. Well, that TV has been a really fun thing that's happened.
So you got to be an expert.
You do have to be an expert. And honestly, all the things that have taken years to build are what has helped.
Yes.
I have been doing TV for probably 10 years. The very first show I did was called Best in Smoke, and that was a series for the Food Network that was really before its time. And most recently, the show I was on this summer was called Barbecue Brawl. And in between, I've done quite a number of other shows. But I have to say, nothing has had traction like Barbecue Brawl.
It's a barbecue moment.
Exactly.
Right now. So I think maybe the first show, the barbecue world and the idea of it in a larger culture wasn't quite caught up to it. So
but
now it's fervor.
It is. And I have to give total credit to Bobby Flay and Michael Simon, who are huge celebrity chefs and personalities with a major fan base. The show was concepted and produced by Bobby Flay and his production company.
He loves some smoke now.
He does. And really having that ringside seat to watch the two of them was so fascinating. I learned so much just sitting there and watching them do their own little challenge. But they cast this great group of pitmasters. And I knew when friends of mine who are not in my world would talk to me about the characters, or not the characters, the competitors, and they would know their names, and they would say like, I can't believe you sent Lene home, or what happened to Tuffy, and oh, I love Carrie Bringle. Like, they knew them. And that to me shows people are invested. They get invested in the show, invested in the people.
You have somebody to cheer about.
Exactly. Yeah. And asking all kinds of questions. People really got into it. And so that was super gratifying.
And in a very grassroots way, once again, we're going back to that theme, you get to work with your friends. I mean, like Carrie Bringle, Tuffy, they're both here this weekend.
Exactly. Exactly. And, the judging panel was Chris Lilly, Mo Kason, and me.
Right.
And I didn't know Mo that well, but Chris and I have been friends for a long, long time. They really kept us all very separate from the competitors, though. We had our own little house. We were all in the same hotel, but we were not allowed to speak in the hotel. And at night, we would all end up in the same bar upstairs, but they were not allowed to come over where we were until they left the show. Then they could come and sit with us, which was kind of funny.
Come on over.
Exactly. But, the integrity, those shows have an incredible amount of integrity. And people always ask, is it fixed? Or do they tell you what to say? And there is none of that. What you see is what happened. You don't really see everything that happened because obviously it's a 12-hour day of filming cut down to an hour. But it's such a neat experience. I feel really fortunate.
Well, it's been very fun to kind of watch you blossom over the years. You were already blossoming before I came on the scene, and now I just feel like you're almost like an entire bouquet of different things happening.
You are too kind.
But at the center of it is still some really damn good ribs. And last time I had your wings, I was like, what? These are so good. So, what now? I mean, what makes you hungry? That next step. You've got that book out. You've got the show. The restaurant is stable. Building. You've got barbecue sauce factory.
Well, I have to get that factory open, and that has been an exercise in patience because lots of things have happened. It has really been.
Come on, permits and stuff. That's not fun.
It's not even really about permits. It's about equipment, and there's no book or website that says here's how to build a factory. And so just when you think you have everything, somebody says, well, you don't have this or you need that. And that part has been very challenging. Mm-hmm. But really, my goal is to grow and build what we've been building for 35 years. Yeah. Exactly. And to keep it going and to keep it the best it can be. A big focus of our business has always been shining a spotlight on Southern Illinois. It's a very depressed part of the country. I feel that we have brought lots of people there because of our barbecue contest, because of the professional barbecue classes we do, and just the restaurant itself. Mm-hmm. But our goal is really to shine that spotlight and to show people what it's all about. People will come to see us, but then they'll realize, I can go fishing, I can go hunting. There are all kinds of natural things to do, hiking and cliffs. Beautiful. And it's gorgeous.
Right.
There's a wine trail, there are craft breweries, there's lots of neat things there. And our goal is to just help showcase those things to people because what helps us helps the region and vice versa.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. What is one aspect of your job that really meshes like a good puzzle piece fit with an aspect of your personality?
That is a great question. Very interesting question. I would say I'm an introvert who has forced herself to be an extrovert. I'm very happy to be home alone reading a good book. I have to force myself to go out or to be really public sometimes. And I like to write more than I like to do other things. So the writing turns into speaking. And I do like to speak. I like to give talks, and I've done a couple of really neat things like the Welcome Conference and the Burned event at Charleston last year. But I think the fact that I get to use my journalism degree and the written and spoken word to tell my family's story is interesting.
Yeah. So you're a wordsmith, however that needs to come out.
Exactly.
That sounds kind of familiar, actually.
Doesn't it? That's why you and I click, I think.
I think so, too. What keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night is thinking about the people who work for me, for us, and how I can help them have better lives. Mm-hmm. And, really how to provide some extra things for them. It's really hard to do. It's hard.
It's hard to do it just through selling plates of barbecue.
Exactly.
You cannot create a sustainable income for people that way.
It's really difficult. And, we have such a dichotomy of people who come to 17th Street. We have local people who think we are very expensive. We have out-of-town people who think we're very inexpensive. Mm-hmm. And we need to serve both of those groups. They're both equally important to us. You have to have local commerce and business. You want to be the local community gathering place, but you need that out-of-town business to keep going because you can't survive in a town of 7,000 people just on local business.
Right.
I mean, we would not be in business if that was the case, or our business would look very different.
But barbecue is a sector of the restaurant industry that has been a destination restaurant. I mean, I grew up in North Carolina, so we would drive to fish camps and barbecue.
Exactly.
That was something that you would do.
And, barbecue used to be inexpensive, and it really isn't anymore. People demand better food, and we cook very high quality pork and beef. Everything is homemade, high quality ingredients. Food is really expensive. And so that whole persona of that cheap restaurant, that's just not what it is anymore.
Right.
And so it's hard to explain that to people sometimes. I have really had a lot of battles, not battles, but people are very passionate about what they think about food and what they'll pay for. But
Very true.
I wonder, you can't even go to the Dairy Queen and get something for under $10. So I don't know why you think barbecue that has taken so much time and effort and love and heart that's been put into that would be a cheap thing. It's just not.
It is literally slow food. I mean, just that labor alone, the labor alone. Okay. I feel like one day you're going to snap and you're going to end up in a 1930s prison. Right? Like, here we go.
Might be sooner than we think.
But I am going to care about you like I always have. And I have the ability, which you do not know until just this moment, to time travel. I have the ability to conscript any chef that you would like in the world. I have the ability to cook a little bit and to, in general, gather through all kinds of Star Trek style means a beautiful last meal to put in a beautiful picnic basket to take to you. Besides the file that you're going to obviously want to cut through those 1930s cartoon style bars, what else is going to be in that picnic basket?
Well, forever, my last meal would have to be my daddy's ribs, baked beans, and coleslaw. Just the most traditional barbecue meal that you could possibly imagine, but it has to be his.
Yeah. Well, you don't know how many people say just similar things. Like they want just that family hand.
Taste of home.
In their food.
Exactly. It has to be a taste of home.
Love it. If people want to learn more about 17th Street Barbecue, Amy Mills, and her growing empire in Illinois, you can go to thesouthernfork.com. I'm also going to have links to her books on the books from the show tab. So please click. You can purchase directly from that books from the show tab and you can check it out. I've got one on my bookshelf right now. It's got a little autograph in it. If you're nice, she might autograph yours at some event sometime. So if you like what you hear, I love food and I even more love the people in food. And I would like for you to know who those people are. So the best way to keep these stories actually coming directly into your earbuds is if you like them, leave a review. If you don't, skip that. And then if you really like them, tell somebody else so they will follow the Southern Fork. That helps us. We want to continue to invite you to be a part of our #barbecue family. So thanks so much for coming today, Amy.
Thank you so much for having me. Such a pleasure, and I love being on St. Simon's Island with you.
I love it too. Hello, and welcome to Talking with My Mouth Full. I'm going to try to make it through this one without you actually hearing my stomach growl because I'm really hungry right now. I'm ready to eat lunch after I record this, and I'm about to tell you why Amy's baked beans are the best baked beans. So I had them recently at Firebox BBQ, and it wasn't the first time, but I wanted to make sure that I tasted them again so that I could recount them for you. And this recipe is actually her dad's. His name is Mike Mills, and their book is called Praise the Lard. And she has other books as well. You can find all of that on the books from the show tab. But this recipe, I just checked, because that's the book that's on my bookshelf, and this recipe is in Praise the Lard. But what makes these baked beans so good? Really great quality beans, and they actually are not all the same kind. There's different kind of beans in there, like Great Northern beans, and you start with actually dried beans. They're slow cooked, and they are delicious. They're a little bit sweet. They're a little bit smoky, but they're not cloying like I've just dumped barbecue sauce, like sweet Kansas City barbecue sauce from a grocery store shelf and baked beans before to kind of doctor them up before. It's not like that at all, but they have a wonderful complex flavor. There are different textures. There are different sizes of beans, and I am dying for these beans, and I have a new slow cooker, so I am probably going to make this recipe soon and put it on Instagram. Of course, I mentioned also in this episode about the Sunday sermon images, and you can find those on the Instagram for 17th Street Barbecue, and that's very, very easy to find on Instagram. Just search for that, and then you can follow along mine as well at Southern Fork. I love the Instagram. It's my social media of choice. I love to create content, but I like to create content like this a lot more than I like to do all kinds of social media all the time. So I find that I gravitate toward Instagram for the most part. So anyway, I'm going to have to make those baked beans, but I thought you might want to know why they were so good. Until next time, make some baked beans. If you're a vegetarian, this probably isn't the recipe for you. So anyway, talk to you soon.
You've been listening to The Southern Fork. I can't wait to bring you more culinary conversations, but in the meantime, I have one question. Are you going to eat all that?